Good evening, hope you're well. The stench of hypocrisy is wafting through Britain tonight. In fact, let's be honest, it absolutely stinks, because just days after Nigel Farage and Nick Candy met Elon Musk at Mar-a-Lago, with reports suggesting the world's richest man could lump reform an £80 million donation, the establishment left are now frantically scurrying to change the law to ban political donations from overseas. Here they are, pictured at Donald Trump's Florida home. Never has a humble photograph sent so many people into a panic. Not least today with the Electoral Commission, whose chief executive, Vijay Rangarajan, today called for the government to change the law to stop the likes of Musk donating cash to UK political parties. In an interview with The Guardian, obviously, he said it's crucial that UK voters have trust in the financing of our political system. Oh, OK, I get it, I understand now. It's only a problem when right-leaning parties get support from rich South Africans. Because I didn't hear the Electoral Commission complaining when South African businessman Gary Lubner, pictured here, gave the Labour Party £4.5 million ahead of the recent election to fund Labour's war chest. And what about the £4 million donation from a firm based in the tax haven Cayman Islands, Quadrature Capital, which Labour only declared after the election? Where was the Electoral Commission then? Why wasn't it rolling up its sleeves calling for overseas donations to be rid from British politics? I also didn't hear from the likes of Tony Blair's sidekick Alistair Campbell complaining either. He tweeted, "Funny how the people who used to scream and bawl about George Soros don't mind oligarchy when it helps them." Yeah, it is funny, isn't it, Alistair? It's funny how in that tweet alone you finally admit the Hungarian billionaire George Soros used his wealth to interfere in British politics, because that idea used to be called a conspiracy theory by lazy commentators. But now Elon Musk is thinking about doing the same thing as Soros. Suddenly, now it's a problem to the likes of Campbell and the Electoral Commission. Oh, how the tables have turned. Soros, of course, is the man who broke the Bank of England, netting $1 billion by shorting the pound on Black Wednesday in 1992. This is a man who made his wealth off the back of Britain's misery. I actually have no problem with that. I'm a capitalist, but I do have an issue with what Soros went on to do with his fortune. In the UK, he funded anti-Brexit campaigns, including calls for a second referendum. He explained in 2019, "My contributions were not used for partisan or electoral purposes. They were used to educate the British public." Educate the British public, yes, of course, because you were too thick to know what you were voting for, of course. In the US, Soros has funded Democratic candidates for national office and spent at least $50 million electing scores of woke social justice prosecutors and district attorneys all across the country, including, by the way, New York's Alvin Bragg, who suffers from a very severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. George Soros is also accused of wanting to see the fall of the West. He made his money trashing the UK. Elon Musk, meanwhile, builds rockets to expand humanity's presence in the universe. He creates brain implants to help people with degenerative diseases enjoy life again. And he makes the world's leading electric vehicles. And, probably most importantly, he thinks free speech is worth saving and that banging people up for words online is wrong. So yes, I agree, maybe foreign money in British politics is a bad thing. But it's been happening for years, and you're only crying now because the shady game you've been playing for decades is coming back to bite you tenfold. Some, I guess, would call it karma. Let's get the thoughts now of my panel. Political consultant Suzanne Evans, Tory peer Lord Sean Bailey, and the former Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Good evening to you all. Thank you for your company tonight. Merry Christmas. It will be the last show we have before the new year. Matthew Larser, your lot are throwing their toys out the pram for something that they've been doing for many, many years now, no?
No, that's not the case. Look, I agree with you, maybe surprised. I don't particularly want George Soros trying to buy British elections. He hasn't given money to British political parties. He did put money into the referendum campaign. What's being proposed is, in my view, is quite sensible, which is any company can continue to give political donations as it is now, but what you can't do is have a company that doesn't really trade here, that's sort of a shell company, it's registered, doesn't make any profits in the UK, and therefore the money is coming in from outside, and that seems and that would hit. No, if any donations that have gone to any existing political party would fall foul of that, then good is what I say.
The point is, Matthew, why now? Why is the attention on this now? Just because it's happening in reverse?
Well, I mean, I actually think the government has always the government was always clear it was going to reform party funding when it came in. So, I mean, look, I don't know how much Tesla makes here or how much X makes in the UK. Maybe that actually it wouldn't impact the donation directly, or it wouldn't impact all of it. I personally believe, remember, we've got spending caps, which I don't think Elon Musk realises that we've got spending caps. So the spending caps in the general election, which the Tories put up ridiculously high, I think they should come back down again, not because of Musk. I said that for ages. And secondly, I think that we should have state funding of all political parties, because we could end this ridiculous thing for every party.
Very clear.
You guys taking money from oligarchs?
A question. You people at home who've just come in from work, do you want your money to be funding the Labour Party?
5p, Sean.
Of course you don't. No.
The Labour... Hang on, we fund all parties.
Most people wouldn't want to spend 1 pence on funding political parties. So let's be clear about that.
That's actually not true.
Secondly, the most disingenuous thing about this is the timing. If this was between, elections and nobody had offered a big donation to anybody else, then it would be a much easier question to have. And what this is the reward Labour have reaped for so many Labour Party activists going over and campaigning against Trump so happily. That's the only reason Musk knows the Labour Party exists, because they were in the...
I think he probably knows who the British Prime Minister is. He's not thick.
They were in America campaigning against his party.
Yeah,
so of
Pennsylvania.
Course,
in key
and that made a big difference, didn't it?
So of course he feels like he needs to respond. But the real thing this shows is that Labour are worried about reform.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the real thing. What this says is the Labour Party used to think the reform was only the Tories' problem. Now they're looking at how unpopular Keir Starmer is, where that popularity is going to, and they're beginning to worry about reform. That's what it really says.
Sean, when you're a third of the polls on 15%, you won't be saying that.
We're talking about the Labour Party, and the last deeper thing is, if you're going to talk about reforming political funding, then people will start to look at the Labour Party's relationship with union funding.
Yeah,
that will come up.
Just totally democratic.
Ben, you're spot on. Timing is absolutely everything here. Although I have to say, the very thought of Elon Musk investing in Britain is brilliant, because nobody else is going to invest in Britain now since Rachel Reeves' terrible budget, business-hating budget. But let's put that to one side. This is a cesspit. The whole area of political funding is a complete cesspit.
Yeah.
In the very early weeks of Labour taking office, we had the freebie scandal, we had the Lord Arley scandal. Then in the Tory government, we had, remember all that PPE? Massive contracts that went to their mates, absolutely tens of billions of pounds.
That's not party funding, though.
Well, some of them were donors.
Unions are absolutely right with Labour. So we had
all
unions
totally democratic.
ASLEF and the RMT, paying the Labour Party, making donations.
Millions of working people.
And then the train drivers get a massive, great pay rise.
There's a conflict of interest.
I'm not anti-working people.
Issue we've got there. We've got the cash for peerages.
You've also got lobbyists as well. What happens here in the US at lobbyists?
The whole thing is an absolute cesspit. And actually, I'm sorry, Sean, but I'm going to agree with Matthew. I think it is time that all political parties got a set amount of money, and
not from the British public. Not from the British public. I just don't think it's right.
All our taxes go to stuff that we don't approve of. Sean.
And giving
it needs to be very modest.
And giving more of those tactics to political parties, I don't think is a good thing.
Yeah, but this is a cesspit. Like I said, it's sleaze personified, and until you get rid of that, you're never going to have proper. I mean, absolute hypocrisy of Keir Starmer today coming out and saying Labour's committed to strengthening our democracy by upholding what did he say? The integrity of our elections. What a load of rubbish. Postal voting, that should be scrapped.
Don't you find, Matthew,
absolutely desperate, because that's another thing. It's a complete cesspit. We've had a judge in Birmingham call it worse than a banana republic. The way in which both political parties, to be fair, both the main political parties, abuse donations and abuse the system, it's quite shocking.
Matthew, can you agree that as it looks at the moment, Labour and the Prime Minister are being massive hypocrites? They're talking about ridding the politics of donations. Gary Lubner, this South African businessman...
He lives here, Ben. Elon Musk has nothing to do with Britain. He doesn't live here, he doesn't vote here, his company barely functions here.
Labour took £4 million off a Cayman Islands tax haven.
It's registered in the Cayman Islands, operates here. I don't think that was particularly...
Sure.
Yeah, hang on, let me respond. I don't think that was the most... I would have been reluctant. If I'd been the Labour Party, I probably wouldn't have taken that donation. Gary Lubner, I know they did. And I'm not the leader of the Labour Party, Sean. Maybe it's good if we did. And we could name all the oligarchs that you guys took money over the years.
And this is the point, isn't it?
When you're having a go at people who give money every month.
What's happened with political donations is there's been a story told, and that story is always there. Tory donors buying peerages. They have as many rich blokes in the...
Well, name them. Name your colleagues, Sean.
From big donations elections, and the
Not at
point
all.
is this. The point is this: because of the
It's not
story
true.
that's been told around political elections, it now looks like a cesspit. It is possible.
Cesspit.
You've been in for 15 years.
Be quiet. It is possible. It is possible.
Trying to get a word in edgeways, Sean.
It's possible to sort it out. But today's actions by the Labour government are a cynical ploy to defend themselves, not the...
Sean, you're only saying this because nobody will give the Tories any money because they know Kemi Badenoch's the worst leader of a British political party in a century.
Again, don't change the subject.
I'm not changing the subject. I will defend the union link, Sean, because the union link means that millions of British workers give them money every month. You don't have to if you're a union member. You can opt out. It's entirely voluntary. It is true. You can fill the form in. Are you a union member?
I was a member of the National Union of Journalists for years.
It's not a Labour donor.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. The stuff I got through the letterbox because it.
But that's different. It's not the one to give.
That also
my money was going towards that.
It's
It was
used
wrong.
to campaign for the Labour Party.
You couldn't really be a journalist without being a member.
That also stinks. When you've got unions donating millions to the Labour Party, and as soon as they get in power, they're getting massive pay rises. That stinks.
No, it doesn't stink because it's clear, it's transparent, and it's open, and you can see it. If you don't like it, don't vote Labour, which I don't think the three of you do.
If you're a senior union member, your chances of getting in the Lords are much larger because you are the person, not the millions of members. You are the person who decides where that money goes.
No, you don't, Sean. That's not how trade unions work, Sean. It isn't, Sean. That's the thing. They're called democracies. They have elections, Sean.
Yeah.
Unlike you guys put Lebedev. You guys put Lebedev in the Lords, which was a stain. You sit in the House of Lords as a Conservative peer next to Lebedev, who should never have been in the Lords, who was KGB linked.
Too many shouting over each other. People at home can't listen. Matthew, the point is, you can deflect all day and say, yeah, but the Tories, and I blame the Tories as well. You're all at it. The point is, on this particular occasion, Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour Party and our government are being massive hypocrites. And even the Electoral Commission, the boss of the Electoral Commission saying that we need to change the rules. You weren't complaining a couple of years back when Soros was pumping millions into the Remain campaign.
Well,
massive.
Well, the Remain campaign wasn't a political party; it was an individual campaign. There's quite a big difference because one's a single issue, and it was
the biggest political decision we've made in a generation.
It was the biggest democratic vote in the history of this country, and you had a.
I'm absolutely clear. The rules need to apply. I agree with you, Ben. The rules need to apply to everybody. That's why Suzanne and I agree. I don't think it is being hypocritical. Let's see what they actually propose. It shouldn't be but at the moment, Reform is entirely dependent on Richard Tice, and it was actually for years. It was a private company that belonged to Nigel.
All right,
and that sucks. That stinks.
What we have established is Sean isn't coming around yours for Christmas.
Oh, I love you, Sean, and I love each other really.
Right, lovely. Great start. Thank you very much.